Hello, everyone. You there. All right. Former President Joe Biden has come out of retirement to do an interview with the BBC. He talked about dropping out, how he felt about passing the baton to Harris. Plus, the Supreme Court of the United States has upheld President Trump's transgender military ban. The left will call it transphobic, but facts and the truth are on the president's side, of course. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is lashing out at DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, making fun of the way she looks. Might I suggest looking in a mirror, JB? Just my 2 cents there. Lots to get to tonight on Nightly Scroll. The show starts now. He's not hiding anymore. I mean, he came out of retirement so soon. He just did a sit-down interview with the BBC. It was released this morning, our time, of course. But it was interesting to see the president. He's all dressed up, does a sit-down with BBC. They're asking him, of course, about how he views the world and how Trump is doing on the world stage. President Biden is not too pleased about what President Trump is doing. He thinks that it's a threat to democracy, of course. All those Democrat buzzwords. That's what we could expect out of President Joe Biden. But they asked him about the big dropout and whether or not he felt like he trusted Kamala Harris to take on the candidacy. So let's listen to this.
And for a long time you said, I'm the man who can stop Donald Trump. And you did once. And in the end, you withdrew from that election campaign at the last minute. It's a question lots of people ask you, Mr. President. Did you leave it too late? Should you have withdrawn earlier, given someone else a bigger chance?
I don't think it would have mattered. We left at a time when we had a good candidate. She was fully funded, and what happened was, I had become what we had set out to do. No one thought we could do, and become so successful in our agenda. It was hard to say, "No, I'm going to stop now." I meant what I said when I started. That I think I'm prepared to hand this to the next generation. It's a transition government, but things moved so quickly that it made it difficult to walk away, it was a hard decision, but
regrets though?
No, I think it was the right decision. I think that it was just a difficult decision.
I don't know about all of you, but that's a really hard watch. It's hard to see him struggle through an interview. These are not hard questions, by the way. He had to have known that they were going to ask him about the big dropout. This is his first interview since then, his first sit down. So of course they're going to ask you, shoulda, woulda, coulda, should you have done this? What would have happened if you didn't drop out? Things like that. This seemed like it was hard for him to answer these questions. Someone in the chat just said Biden with a bunch of Z's. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like he was really struggling to even get his train of thought going. And I thought it was interesting when he said it wouldn't have mattered whether he was the candidate or not, or if Harris was the candidate. And I tend to agree with him. I just didn't expect him to admit it. I think both of them were so wrong for the country in different ways. Biden was failing, of course, mentally and physically. Kamala Harris was not putting forth any meaningful policy. She was not speaking to the media because every time she did, she looked like a fool. And when she took interviews with even friendly outlets, they would edit the interview. They weren't live. They held her hand. And she still looked bad. She relied on social media marketing and Hollywood endorsements to seal the deal for her, which ended up being an abject failure, as we all know. And Biden sort of trailed off on his answer at the end there, which I think is very indicative of where Biden's mental acuity was and still is. Imagine if he stayed in the race and this was our president of the United States. It's kind of a chilling thought. The left tried for as long as they possibly could to hide Biden from the people, but it was impossible. Whether it was tripping up the stairs or wandering off or needing handlers to get him off stage, shaking hands with nobody at all, losing his train of thought, putting an end to his day in the late afternoon. They were just calling it quits. No more meetings, no more appearances. Once it was like 3 p.m., you were not seeing that man. Unless they gave him whatever cocktail they gave him, when he had a State of the Union address and he'd be all like amped up. He'd be either sleeping at speeches or events or getting angry and yelling, in those speeches, making up words like true international pressure. That's a good Biden word that he made up. I like that one. But the media did their darndest. Yeah, here's a video of Biden just, where was this? This is at the G7 or something like that. Yeah, it was a G7. And Biden is just, everyone's looking one way. And there's a parachute happening in front of him. He doesn't got a care in the damn world. President Biden's looking over into the bushes over there. He's off. He's a goner. And the media did their darndest, but it was a really, really obvious decline. And it was a very sad sight to see. I think across the board, left, right, center, people can say that he wasn't doing very well, and it's a sad sight to see. We don't want our president, whether you voted for him or not, to be in that state, that mental state and physical state. Democrats knew that there was a swell of support rising for Donald Trump. They were losing their grip on once solid and reliable voting blocs for Democrats, which were college kids, young men, Black and Latino voters. They were all swinging towards Trump, so they threw spaghetti at the wall, thinking it would stick, and of course it didn't. Biden talked about, in that interview, the campaign was flush with cash when he left and handed it over to Kamala Harris, but then she lost and left with a reported $20 million debt. What did they spend $20 million on? Building a set for her Call Her Daddy podcast interview, a sex podcast? They had to do that. She wouldn't travel to Joe Rogan, but she could build a set to go on Call Her Daddy with Alex Cooper. Of course, hurricanes are ravaging the country and Americans are stranded. They don't have food. They don't have support or anything like that. And she's off doing a podcast interview. They even said they tried to push it off. Do you remember that? And she said it was bad timing. It was bad timing. You just shouldn't have done it. So they're spending money to build that set. Then they spend money to have J-Lo speak because, Tony Hinchcliffe, who spoke at President Trump's rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City, he made the comment about Puerto Ricans. So then, obviously, the Kamala Harris campaign, they had to go rush and get J-Lo. We've got a Puerto Rican here. She's on our side. She can, bash Trump. It's ridiculous what they spent money on. Beyonce, Megan Thee Stallion, shaking her booty on stage. These were concerts. People don't care about concerts. Concerts don't drive people to the polls. And I think it's indicative of this culture shifting more to the right. Celebrity endorsements, concerts, twerking, shaking what your mama gave you, that is not getting people to the polls. Even people who are massive Swifties or fans of Taylor Swift or J-Lo or Beyonce, society is waking up. People are driven to the polls not because what the media is telling them, but because of their lived experience under Democrat leadership, which is not what the American people have really bargained for. Even the woke left wasn't happy with Democrats. They didn't think the Democrats were going far left enough. So across the board, Biden and Harris did not represent enough of the electorate. That is why they lost. So I agree with President Biden that it didn't matter if it was him or her. They were going to lose either way. And young people are the future, obviously. But in terms of politics, young people, they want to be represented on both sides of the aisle. We're seeing candidates in their 20s, 30s, and 40s making waves. We're seeing more of these lifers and womb to tumors like Senator Mitch McConnell, former Senator now, Dianne Feinstein, and former President Joe Biden say, okay, I'm 100 years old. It's time for me to throw in the towel. I've made enough money off of the American people. I've grifted long enough. They can put their what do they like to call it? Their service to the American people. I mean, they can put that to rest. They're old enough. They're moving on. But President Biden and President Trump have both said something similar in recent interviews. So President Biden just said it, that, you know, we've got to pass the torch to the younger generation. And President Trump said a very similar thing when NBC's Kristen Welker asked him whether or not, of course, this dumb question, whether or not he's running in 2028. So if you haven't seen this clip yet, let's play this.
The Trump organization is selling hats that say Trump 2028.
Yeah.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr.
No,
President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution? Or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else, but there are many people selling the 2028 hat. But this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody, ideally a great Republican to carry it forward. But I think we're going to have 4 years, and I think 4 years is plenty of time to do something really spectacular.
I mean, her question is ridiculous, as we know. Trump is selling the 2028 hats for fun. He's a troll. He's the king of the trolls. He's joking. He loves to joke about this and trigger the media. He knows that he's going to get a rise out of them, and he knows that they're going to ask him these questions. It's funny. Like when he says that, you know, maybe I would like to be Pope, or yeah, maybe I will. People would like if I ran for president forever. I mean, he's joking. Seriously. But the important part of what he said there was, I'm ready to pass the baton to someone new, a younger Republican Party. And both of these older candidates recognize that gone are the days of 70 and 80-year-olds running the country. It is not how American politics is trending. It's not how it's shaping up. So unless you are the Energizer Bunny like President Trump is, it is unsustainable for most older people. And Biden thought, well, okay, I'll pass the torch to the identity politics checked box that the DNC told him to pick. Whereas President Trump chose J.D. Vance to be his vice president. Sure, he's not Jamaican and Indian and a woman, but as we know, nobody actually cares about that. Whereas Harris was a broken record about growing up in a middle-class family. How many times, chat, have you heard that? Well, every interview that she did, not that there was that many of them, but, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. Well, I grew up in a middle-class family, and I'm black, and I'm Jamaican, and I'm Indian, or whatever she was. But she always had to put in there, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. Well, I'm relatable. I'm just like you. But J.D. Vance's story spoke for itself. He had struggled growing up in poverty, like a lot of Americans. He struggled growing up in a family that was riddled with addiction, like a lot of Americans. And he overcame all of that. J.D. Vance is the antidote to the victim mentality that Americans are so tired of hearing about. He is the embodiment of the American dream. You don't need to be a minority in this country to relate to Americans who are struggling. And J.D. Vance set the message that you are not your upbringing. Your parents don't define you. Your socioeconomic status doesn't define you. Hard work and determination and your character defines you. So older leaders in this country are ready to pass the torch. Democrats have flopped so hard in choosing Kamala Harris. They are still reeling from the loss. They have nobody, and I mean nobody, to pick up the pieces. I truly believe one of the smartest political decisions President Trump has ever made was choosing J.D. Vance to be the vice president of the United States. Does anyone in the chat agree? Does anyone else? I mean, when I saw J.D. Vance take the stage for the debate, I was pretty sure this is the next president of the United States after Trump. Certainly someone that is not going away from the Republican Party for a very long time. Someone just said, agreed, hell yeah, yep, fully, yes, here. Someone said he's presidential material. I totally agree. I was blown away by his debate performance. He wiped the floor with Kamala Harris. I mean, seriously, truly an incredible showing. And I think a lot of Republican voters, I don't speak for everyone, but I think a lot of Republican voters are proud of him. They support him and would love to see Vice President Vance carry the torch for Trump, the MAGA faction of the Republican Party, come 2028. I have faith in the future of the party. I know we've got a long way to go. I'm not trying to jump the gun here. We've got a whole lot of President Trump left. But I think that J.D. Vance is a winner. And if Trump wins and if J.D. Vance wins, we all win. And speaking of passing the torch, Vice President Vance's half-brother, Corey Baumann, is entering the political field as well. So this is what Vice President Vance posted on X. This was on the 7th, so yesterday. Hey, Cincinnati, my brother, Corey Baumann, is running for mayor. He is on the ballot today for the primary. He's a good guy with a heart for serving his community. Get out there and vote for him. And the people of Cincinnati, they voted, and he is going to be on the ballot come November. So Prevail, he is Puraval, I don't know how to say this incumbent mayor's name, Aftab Puraval. He's going to be on the ballot. He's the Democrat, and J.D. Vance's brother, as he called him, Corey Baumann, is going to be on the ticket in November. So the incumbent mayor, he's been the mayor in Cincinnati since 2021. He received 18,505 votes. J.D. Vance's brother, 2,894 votes. Then there was another Republican on the ticket. He was the third, Brian Frank, just 1,022 votes. So this was not close by any means. I mean, the incumbent mayor, 18,000 votes, and then, the Republicans just, in the single digits. It's, we'll see what happens, but certainly having the vice president backing you is gotta help. So now that he's gotten on the ticket and he is going to be the Republican candidate come November, we'll see how this shakes out. But Corey Baumann, he is the founder of the River Church in the West End. He's also the co-owner of a coffee company. And he said that watching his brother during the inauguration, it inspired him to also get involved in politics. He's 36 years old. So like I said in my opening monologue there, the younger generation is certainly making waves. They're wanting to get involved in politics, and I love to see it. So we've got to get some fresh new faces in there, some new blood. We got to get rid of the people who are womb to tomb. They're absolutely just grifting off of this job, like the Pelosi's of the world, and they're just making money. The Bernie Sanders of the world. Why are you a public servant? Why do you have 3 houses? We need to get rid of those people and usher in people who actually care to serve, to be a public servant and not just grift. So J.D. Vance's brother, he is focusing on infrastructure, money management, public safety. Sounds good to me. I've been to Cincinnati just once, so I don't want to say that, my experience was the end-all be-all or anything, but I didn't love it. I didn't really get the feeling like I wanted to go back. I'm sorry to anyone in the chat who is from the Cincinnati area, but certainly there's some good areas, good restaurants. I went to a Reds game. It was fun. But I didn't feel like I left the city and I wanted to go back. I hope that you're not offended if anyone from Cincinnati's in the chat. But I would say maybe new Republican leadership might bring me back. I don't know. We'll have to see. But the Supreme Court has upheld President Trump's trans military ban. So this all started in 2021. Then President Joe Biden, he signed an executive order that would allow transgender people to serve in the military. They'd be openly in the military. Then, of course, President Biden, as you all know, a president comes in, undoes what the other one does. President comes in, undoes what the other one does. It's really just like a back and forth. This is why I feel like nothing ever gets done. But anyway, Joe Biden, he wanted to have transgenders openly serve in the military. Then President Trump, he comes in January of this year, revoked Biden's order on day one, and then issued another order to Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to put in a ban in effect that would ban individuals with gender dysphoria from serving in the military. This is what the department's stance is. The medical, surgical, and mental health constraints on individuals who have a current diagnosis or history of, or exhibit symptoms with gender dysphoria are incompatible with the high mental and physical standards necessary for military service. I have said this on this show before. I will say it again. Serving in the military is a privilege. It is not a right. There are so many medical issues that prevent someone from serving in the military. You don't just get to sign up and do it if you want to. You have to go through a series of medical tests, mental health tests. If you are hard of hearing, you might not be able to serve in the military. If you are obese, you can't serve in the military. If you have mental disorders such as severe anxiety and depression, you cannot serve in the military. So if you are so sick mentally in the head that you believe you can surgically change your biological sex, you should not be allowed to serve in the military. Point blank. This is a mental delusion that has been so normalized that people have made damaging, lasting physical changes to their body. Transgender individuals may be on hormones or other drugs that alter their brain chemistry. We don't know what this does to a person. Does it drive them to be more violent? We have no idea. Does it make their depression and anxiety worse? It seems like it's trending in that direction. So why do we want to put these people on the front lines? Why do we want to affirm their delusion and then put them out on the front lines? Why wouldn't we want to help them get better? And they shouldn't be getting better on the taxpayer's dime while they're serving in the military. Because as we know, the left, they are not interested in fixing trans people. They are dead set on affirming trans people. So it wouldn't be the American taxpayer even funding the mental health therapies that they need. We would likely be funding their boob jobs and their facial feminization surgeries. And we would be funding them turning their forearm, the muscles in their forearm, into a makeshift penis. So I don't want to pay for that. This is not bigotry to not allow these people to serve. It is to protect them. It is to protect everyone they serve with and everyone they are serving, us. So Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth doubled down on all of this. He announced a new way forward for the Pentagon. Watch this.
No more pronouns, no more climate change obsession, no more emergency vaccine mandates, no more dudes in dresses. We're done with that.
Yeah, we've got that eagle screech in there. This is the perfect moment. You know the amount of comments on Instagram I get and people on Twitter saying, it's not a bald eagle. Oh, I know. You must be new here. You must be new here. We know. But this is what Hollywood has used for years. The bald eagle screech doesn't sound so good. So, we do some Hollywood magic over here, okay? Sue me. The eagle screech this was the perfect moment for that. And someone in the chat did say, it was disgusting how President Biden, he kicked people out of the military who didn't want to get the COVID-19 vaccine. But then he's going to allow trans people who are delusional. He's going to allow them to serve in the military. But people who didn't want to get an experimental vaccine couldn't serve. And I totally understand. I mean, I have friends, their husbands are in the military. You've got to get multiple jabs to go serve, especially if you're going abroad and you've got tours in Iraq and Afghanistan or wherever they're sending you. You're going to you're stationed in another country. You've got to be multi-jabbed. But the COVID-19 vaccine that was experimental and it wasn't FDA approved, and they whipped that up in the nick of time I don't think so. I don't think so. And we can't focus on making America safe again if the men and women who want to protect us are busy gender bending. We cannot take the risk of having people who are sick in the head medicating themselves to affirm the sickness, not get rid of it. And by getting rid of all of this wokeness, we may have a shot at being not an absolute joke on the world stage. So I usher all of this in. I love to see it. I love to see that we are effing done with it. This stuff is over, thanks to President Trump and Pete Hegseth. So good on that. And speaking of patriots, I've got to tell you quickly about Patriot Mobile. So together, we have fought for the same thing. That is faith, freedom, and the country we love. And one of our biggest supporters over the years is Patriot Mobile. If you are part of the Bongino Army and you are one of my homies in the chat, you should also be on Patriot Mobile. Our candidate may have won, but this is no time to rest. We must keep supporting companies that share our values and stand for what we believe in. Switch to Patriot Mobile with confidence, knowing you will get outstanding nationwide coverage because they operate on all 3 major networks. You can have 2 numbers on 2 different networks on a single smartphone. That means if you're out in one area and you're, let's say, I'm not going to name drop the companies, but you have one service provider and it's no service, it'll just click on to the next one. So you always have service. And not only do you have the Silver Lock guarantee, you will get the Patriot Mobile coverage guarantee. So every dollar you spend supports a company that believes in our First and Second Amendment rights, the sanctity of life, our veterans, and first responders. Switching is easy. It only takes minutes from wherever you are. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their 100% US-based team will take great care of you. Go to patriotmobile.com/scroll or call 972-PATRIOT. Get a free month of service and sign up with code SCROLL. That is patriotmobile.com/scroll or call 972-PATRIOT. Now, I told you a little bit about this when was it? I think it was on Monday. I told you about Nashville. You all know I used to live in Nashville. I lived there for 2.5 years. I love Nashville. I love it so much. I miss it. I miss all my friends there. And unfortunately, Nashville is a blue dot in a red state. And we've got a mayor in Nashville who is extremely left-wing and woke. And this is what he posted on Blue Sky, because he's not on X. He posted this on Blue Sky. And this is mayor of Nashville. And he was all upset because there were all of these ICE arrests taking place in Nashville. Of course, because ICE was working with Tennessee Highway Patrol to carry out traffic stops, and they found some pretty disgusting people and got rid of them. But he is upset with this because he knows that his very deep blue constituency would not be too pleased if he supported this. Even though it's making Nashville safer, he doesn't think so. So he said, overnight, we understand that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents detained people during enforcement actions in Middle Tennessee. As we learn more, I want to be clear. No MNPD personnel were involved in last night's enforcement action. MNPD has no federal immigration authority and is not trained to conduct immigration enforcement and lacks access to federal immigration databases. So he's saying this type of federal enforcement action is not focused on making us safer. And it leaves people in our community fearing any interaction with law enforcement when there is a crime occurring. We will be seeking the names of those detained. Huh? What do you mean? And he's talking about Metro Nashville Police Department. He's saying they are not trained in this. Okay, it wasn't them. It was Tennessee Highway Patrol and ICE. And Tennessee Highway Patrol assisted ICE officers in doing what ICE officers are supposed to do, which is detain people who are not supposed to be here. So then here is what the Department of Homeland Security responded to that statement. During the operation in Tennessee, ICE agents arrested a convicted child sex predator, a member of Tren de Aragua, an individual convicted of aggravated assault, and multiple aliens with drug charges. The Nashville mayor should want these criminal illegal aliens off American streets. Attacks and demonization of our brave law enforcement is wrong. ICE officers are now facing a 413% increase in assaults. President Trump campaigned on immigration enforcement, and the American people voted for it, and DHS is delivering 100%. What DHS is doing is getting people who shouldn't be here off the streets. And this mayor, he literally posted an official statement saying what they're doing is making the streets less safe because illegals are going to fear for their lives, and they're going to fear for law enforcement. They're not going to call law enforcement when they need them because they're not supposed to be here. So the mayor of Nashville is standing by this, saying these police officers and these ICE officers are not making Nashville safer. Meanwhile, they kicked out a child predator, people who have been accused of drug charges, and members of the Tren de Aragua Venezuelan gang. Make it make sense, people. Make it make sense, because it doesn't make sense to me. If I was still living in Nashville, I would want these people out. Who in their right mind would want them to stay? It's crazy that these Democrat politicians, they will get on the internet and put out an official statement saying exactly what they shouldn't be saying. It's shocking to me. It really is shocking to me. And now, similarly, as we know, Nashville's not a sanctuary state. It's not a sanctuary city. But over in Illinois, we know that is a sanctuary state, and it's headed up by Governor J.B. Pritzker. And the Department of Homeland Security, headed up by Kristi Noem, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, she held a news conference today outside Governor Pritzker's mansion in Illinois. And the Department of Homeland Security said her speech would highlight how sanctuary city policies in Illinois have unleashed violence on American citizens, including rape, sexual assault, murder, shoplifting, and more. All while shielding illegal aliens' responsibility from facing consequence. So here's a video of that speech. Watch.
Illinois has been a sanctuary state. The results have been absolutely disastrous for people who live here. In 2020, Governor Pritzker expanded access to taxpayer-funded free health care for illegal aliens. It has cost the citizens of Illinois $1.6 billion. He has been incentivizing illegals to come here and to live in this state. In 2021, Pritzker ordered local officials to stop cooperating and working with our ICE officers. In 2022, there were at least 400 to 500,000 illegal aliens in this state, and we know that there's even more here today. This governor has bragged about Illinois being a firewall against President Trump's immigration enforcement agenda. And it is very clear that he is violating the Constitution of the United States because it is a federal law that the federal government and the president set and enforce immigration policies.
Yeah, he's not following federal law. But JB's office put out a statement making fun of the way DHS Secretary Kristi Noem looks, saying that she cosplays as a law enforcement officer and all these things. And so he's mocking her. Someone in the chat was saying that he's very overweight. They said it in not so nice terms. But yeah, I would say look in the mirror. Before you make fun of how DHS Secretary Kristi Noem looks, I would look in the mirror at you, JB Pritzker, and maybe not say such nasty things. You know? So J.B. Pritzker's office put out a statement, like I said, saying despite the Trump administration being in office for more than 100 days and falsely accusing Illinois of not following federal and state law, Secretary Noem and her team does not communicate with the state of Illinois and has not asked for support or coordination to enforce immigration laws. No, I'm dead serious. That's what they said. His office put out a statement saying Kristi Noem has not reached out to him to coordinate enforcing the immigration laws that are on the books. The federal government doesn't have to ask you to follow the law. You're just supposed to do that. Hello? So then Pritzker's office went on and said the state of Illinois has been clear. Violent criminals without documentation have no place in our state or our country. Huh. Imagine that. This is all in one statement, by the way. It's like freaking whiplash. Okay, so then what's your problem with DHS and ICE and the Trump administration and what they're doing? Governor Pritzker is just mad that Kristi Noem is coming with the facts. And the facts say that Governor Pritzker has done the opposite of making people who live in Illinois safer. Because their sanctuary state policies are harboring illegal aliens. They're incentivizing them with taxpayer-funded health care to the tune of $1.6 billion. He also made fun of Kristi Noem for, the memoir that she put out where she admitted to killing a dog on her property, which is strange. I still don't understand the motivation behind admitting that. I feel like if I was a politician, I would maybe take that to the grave because people love dogs and they love animals and they don't like animal cruelty. I think she put it out saying, it was she was the kind of politician who's just going to do what she needs to do, right? She's going to get stuff done. If it's hard, she's going to do it. But yeah, anyway, JB Pritzker obviously dunking on her for that. And he said, we would urge all pet owners in the region to make sure all of your beloved animals are under watchful protection while the secretary is in the region. Which is just a stupid, cheap shot that distracts from the facts, which are sanctuary policies are ruining blue states and cities, and they leave communities less safe. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it's crazy what is happening in other blue states and cities and sanctuary cities. So I want to take you now to New York City in Times Square, where there's wild new video. This is a New York Post headline. Wild new video shows moment pint-sized perps gang up on cops in Times Square as NYPD announced the arrest of fifth migrant teen. So migrant teenagers are running amok in New York City. Sounds great. I'm glad I don't live there anymore. But this was the first, this was just one of the first headlines that I came across this morning. And I just thought, wow, how far New York City has fallen. It used to be just a great city, and you would go, I grew up going into the city. I would go with my parents. We would go see Broadway shows. We would go to dinner. I had family who lived in the city. It was not a dangerous place. Certainly there was crime and everything, but when I was growing up, it wasn't this big scary place. And then when I ended up living there, it was fine. Before COVID, I felt safe. Obviously you learn to keep your head on a swivel and you don't, you try not to take the subway late at night and things like that. But I saw very quickly New York City take a turn for the worse after COVID. The homeless crisis got extremely dangerous. The homeless in New York City, they will touch you, they will spit on you, they will attack you. They're not afraid to get physical, which is very scary. When I moved to Nashville, there were homeless people, but they wouldn't touch you or come near you. Excuse me. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see how the city has gone downhill. And clearly it has to do with some of these policies, the Democrat policies. As we know, Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, he's putting out panic buttons in bodegas and other storefronts so that with all these smash and grabs and with all these crimes and the looting and all this stuff, if you've been to a CVS or a Walgreens or something like that in New York City, you know that you can't even get deodorant because it's all behind a plastic thing and it's all locked away. You can't get deodorant. You can't get shampoo. You can't get anything. It's insane. You have to ask for a member of the staff to come and help you and assist you to get everything you need. It is not at all the way that the company should be running. And I actually don't blame Eric Adams for putting these panic buttons in because I think the damage that has been done started before Eric Adams. Certainly Eric Adams has kept up with these sanctuary city policies, so I'm not saying that he's blameless, of course. but I think it takes a longer time to remedy these problems. I mean, I think a lot of the crime, it's like so deep-seated. And of course, all the migrants that have come under President Biden's administration, you can't just like undo that overnight. So people were kind of dunking on Eric Adams for these panic buttons, but I think that it's a good idea. I mean, why wouldn't you equip these store owners with something that can at least help in the interim? I'm not mad at Eric Adams at all for doing that. I think given the situation at hand, this is going to help New Yorkers, not hurt New Yorkers. If they're connected, they've got a panic button that's connected to a precinct right by them. Great. I say good. In the meantime, until you can get the migrants out and like undo all of the problems, which it's going to take a long time to do, I think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a Band-Aid on a problem. It's not the cure, but certainly I'm not going to hate on him for trying to help. So anyway, back to the migrant teens in Times Square. So I want to show you this video, and there's no audio on it, but I want to play it so you can see that this happened in Times Square around 42nd Street, and this was obtained by a Fox News reporter, Alexis McAdams. That's why it says Fox News across the front there if you're watching. But you could see these two police officers in the middle. You start to see this debacle start, this chaos. All these teens are running around and they're circling the cops, and then it starts getting more violent. They're throwing things at the cops. They're kind of like bum rushing them, running away. You just saw, someone threw something at the cops right there. I don't know what exactly that was. But yeah, this is disgusting behavior. And apparently these are all linked to a violent migrant youth gang. So the migrant crisis, it's not just the adults that come over. When they bring the kids with them, it's just the family business. They become all criminals. So the police have said that the items that were thrown at them were an umbrella and a baseball. So that ball that was thrown, that was apparently a baseball. They arrested some of these children. It was a 12-year-old. He is apparently the ringleader of the gang. Police are saying that this mob is linked to Tren de Aragua, except it is a school-aged offshoot known as Diablos de la 42, or Devils of 42nd Street. And certainly we saw that, this is what they do. The Devils of 42nd Street, they're running amok and throwing stuff at cops. It's chaos. It's total chaos. Also in Times Square, again, this isn't the worst thing that's happened in Times Square. As you see, I like to preface this with the migrant teen gang, but a statue of a black lady, like a random black lady, she's nobody, but this was erected in Times Square. So if we could just play this.
Communicate
so this is the statue that has been erected in Times Square. What's the reason? Well, we'll tell you in just a second. It's really not a reason. Here is everyone celebrating the statue of the random black lady. I don't know, man. Is this art? Is this art? I don't know. Someone else on X, I think this was a meme account. Was it the Right to Bear Memes? They posted this, LeBron's James. So this is just like a spoof on this statue, but it's actually LeBron James instead. If we could pull up 13, they're working on it, but it's very funny. Someone just says that Letitia James. I don't know. It kind of looks like, someone else is saying that it looks like Letitia James as well. Yeah, I don't really know the purpose of this artwork. I don't want you all to think that I'm like an uncultured swine, but I like museums. It's not my favorite thing. I like paintings, but when it comes to sculptures and certain things like this, certainly if it's like to garner political attention for some reason, I just don't really see the purpose. I'm sorry. I just don't. All the like sculptures in New York City, to me, it's just like something that people take Instagrams in front of. Okay, so here's LeBron's James. if you want to see LeBron James's face on the fat black lady. But the only thing that would make it better is if LeBron James was crying. I want to cry just looking at it. So if we could pull up the website from Times Square, because on the Times Square website, they explain the purpose, I guess, for the art. But it says Times Square Arts is pleased to present Grounded in the Stars, a 12-foot tall figurative bronze sculpture by the artist Thomas J. Price. They went on to say that it was kind of like supposed to be about cultural diversity, and there are other white men who have statues in and around Times Square, so they wanted to kind of have this woman stand there amongst the men. So one of my former colleagues at Outkick, he pointed out, he did the digging. Joe Kinsey at Outkick, he found out that the two other statues of white men in Times Square, one is a World War I hero, Father Francis Duffy. He became a highly decorated service member in the U.S. Army for his efforts on the combat on the Western Front in France. So there's one. Then another man is George C. Cohen, who is regarded as a Broadway hero and essentially the guy who created Broadway. So that's very important. If you know, Times Square is right around where all the Broadway shows are in New York City, huge part of the culture. So if he's like the grandfather of Broadway, we have him, we have a World War I hero, and then we have random unnamed black lady. So is this the point that they wanted to make? I mean, why wouldn't you erect a statue of like a real black woman who affected change in some way? I don't know. Like, pick a real woman. The fact that it's not even, I mean, maybe it's inspired by someone, but it's not like a statue of, I don't know, someone who exists in real life. So, I mean, you put this woman, this black woman, in the middle of two actual heroes, like a war hero and someone who created culture in New York City. So it doesn't make sense to me. It's certainly pointless. And somewhere in that page, in that website, it said that the way that she stands is something, it's sort of like the David. So they erected a similar statue in Italy. So here's the statue of the black lady in Italy. She's on her phone. For what? I don't know. If they erected a statue of me, I would be like this. And then it would be me scrolling. So I think they should just put a statue of me there instead. And I can do scrolling time and I can be on my phone. I could be racking up my screen time. But yeah, as I was saying, totally pointless. And speaking of scrolling time, let's get into it. All right, I have a few videos today. I feel like with the time, what do I want to give to you guys first? Let's see. Okay, let's play 17 first. This is a girl. She's making the point, with all this hubbub about illegal migrants and they're being taken away from their children and, the whole kids in cages stuff. This white girl had a perfect response. So watch this.
I got people in my comment section on my last video saying, how would you feel if you came home and your parents weren't there? You would feel like they abandoned you. Guess what, They did. I do know how it fucking feels. My parents committed illegal crimes, and in turn, they got their 3-year-old daughter, their 4-year-old daughter, and their 5-year-old daughter taken away. And I didn't see my parents until I was 21 years old. No birthday cards, no Christmases, no phone calls, no nothing. My parents did abandon their children. I know how it fucking feels. Firsthand. And I would have tagged that comment, but as soon as I clocked it, they deleted it. We are so sorry that your parents crossed over that border illegally and dragged you with them. We are so sorry that your parents came over that border illegally and then gave birth to you. And they knew that there was a possibility that ICE could get them. They knew that. So blame your parents, baby. Don't blame our vote.
Blame your parents. Don't blame our vote. Mic drop. And this moment, this woman and the point that she's making, it reminds me of Tom Homan before he was our border czar, but he was on Capitol Hill getting grilled by AOC, but he instead schooled her. Watch this.
Mr. Holman, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Yep.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Mic drop. All you have to do to take on AOC is just spit some facts, which Tom Homan always does. So thank goodness. And thank goodness he's in charge of the border now. Imagine if we still had border czar Kamala Harris in charge. Things would not be so good. Things would not be so good. But I want to play you 2 videos. So again, this is maybe going into the conspiracy realm. So for my tinfoil hat homies, as you know, I love the conspiracy theories. I love all these things. Do we think that robots are going to take over the world? Because this number 19 video is very scary. This is a robot created by Clone Robotics. And this is called a protoclone. It is manufactured with a body to look as lifelike as possible with muscles, tendons, joints, and all. So this is Clone Robotics basically turning on this robot and having it twitch to life. I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. The way that it moves, I mean, that is scary. That is really, really scary. So the company claims that this protoclone can walk, it can talk, it can complete chores just like any human could. He said, do it yourself once, the clone will do it forever. That's the tagline on the company. So you teach this robot to put your laundry away, you'll never have to do it again. Clone will do it for the rest of your life. Life? Are they even alive? I don't know. Rest of their time. I don't know. So you can order this robot or pre-order this robot, and it will memorize the layout of your home. It will memorize the layout of your kitchen inventory. It will wash your dishes. It'll wash your clothes. It can make sandwiches and pour drinks. I'm not convinced. I'm still not convinced. I'm not convinced, guys. Even if the robot, the protoclone or whatever they're calling it, even if it made me a really good dirty martini and served it to me on a silver platter, I would say, no, I can't do it. It also vacuums, it also cleans, it shakes hands, it talks. This is very scary. And it begs the question, what happens if they get sentience? What happens when they have emotions? What happens when they evolve and they learn too much? What if they learn too much? What if they know too much? Can it attack you? And this robot in an undisclosed Chinese factory actually lashed out on the people who created it. This is Rock'em Sock'em Robots in real life. Watch this. So here the robot, he starts throwing elbows, throwing punches. Look at him. Look at him. He's flailing around. These guys don't even know what to do. They don't even know what to do. Turn it off. Turn it off. This is why I'm a firm believer. There's no reason for robots. We don't need them. We've already got like a loneliness crisis because of COVID. People are stuck in their homes. Make real friends. Talk to real people in real life, not on the internet. You don't need a robot girlfriend. You don't need a robot maid. None of this. Leave it in the fictional movies. Leave it. I don't want anything to do with it. Like, this is really, really scary. The outcome is rock'em sock'em robots. This is the worst case scenario in real life. So I'm not doing it. This reminds me of yesterday's show when I was talking about the gain of function research, and RFK Jr. said nothing good has come of gain of function research, which is, making and testing a virus to make it even more dangerous to humans. Like, this is what I feel like we're doing with testing these robots and making, robot dogs and robot maids and all this stuff.